The run is over! Are you kidding me? There's a year-long wait for that moment! You better get some popcorn because this is going to be a fun night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Sunday, October 6th, 2019. My name is Rich, and joining me for the ANW11 Stage 5 Ninja Awards is Bijan. How you making out?
Ooh, I'm feeling good, bro. I got my suit on, and by suit, I mean my tank top on. Oh, I'm excited.
Oh, it's a classy affair. It's a very classy affair. We also have some more guests with us once again this year. Joining us is Lita from Reality TV RhapUps. How you doing, Lita?
I'm wonderful. I am happy to be in my own category at this recording as the best female ninja podcaster. I am peerless on this current podcast.
Crushing it once again.
Maybe not overall, the Ninja Babes. One of them has actually been on the show. But certainly at this present recording.
Yes, as of this recording.
Yo, Ninja Babes is like the best ninja podcaster that's ever been on ANW, so shout out to them.
Yet, Taran.
We also have joining us Taran from Reality TV RhapUps. How you doing, Taran?
I'm great. I'm also, classed up in some sweatpants, and I'll throw on my blazer. Actually, it'll be a great combo.
That's a look.
Ooh.
That is definitely a look.
Yeah.
And our fifth person on this podcast today is Travis from ANW Fantasy. Thanks for joining us, Travis.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be here.
It's awesome, Travis.
I think we prematurely said you wouldn't be joining this year. I'm very glad that you did decide to join us in the end.
Well, I wasn't 100% sure, so.
He had to win the power tower against a different podcaster.
Yeah, I think Travis got thrown off by Stage 2. I think that kind of threw us all for a loop this year.
Yeah, Stage 2, was a little rough for me. I was about ready to not watch the show ever again.
There was so much hate for Stage 2. I think I'm in the only one on this island, but I like Stage 2.
Okay. Well, probably the ninjas who did it liked it.
I was going to say, if you competed this year, you like Stage 2, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was nice seeing a bunch of people on Stage 3, but I totally understand why, as a show, people don't like it.
Yeah, in defense of Stage 2, Stage 3 was better than ever, so there is that. All right, so before we get into the categories, there's so much to cover. I want to make sure we kind of keep moving along here. I do want to give a quick shout-out and a thank you to everyone that voted in our Ninja Academy, I guess if we're going to call it that. So we had a lot of votes across the board for the People's Choice. We had more than ever, so thank you everyone that wrote in for that. We got them on every channel imaginable. We got YouTube comments, we got Reddit comments, Instagram messages, like just everywhere you could possibly send it in, you guys sent it in. So thank you everyone for voting there. But for the main categories tonight, we got a bunch of content creators for Ninja to give us their votes. So they helped us decide. This is an opinion from all four of us, as well as, let me run down the list here. There's a few. We have votes from William from 222 Productions on YouTube, ANW Akbarism from Twitter and Instagram, Ian from Ninja Warrior Power Rankings on SteelCityBlitz.com, Jack Rowland, that's Universal Tuber from, as he described it, video reviews, countdowns, etc., and crappy memes on our ANW. Also a very great YouTube channel.
Accurate.
Cara Palillo from Ninja Babes Podcast.
Shout out.
Andrew Favaloro from Andrew Ninja Warrior. And finally, the Backyard Ninja Kids, which is a little conflict of interest, but we had to invite them too.
I had a little side eye on that. I'm like, but yo, it's all good.
It's only one category.
Yeah. As long as they don't vote on that category, it's all good.
Yes, and they didn't all get to vote. They had one vote.
Are we going to get in trouble for hacking the Stage 5 Ninja Award elections?
Oh, yes. That's what we need, more election controversy.
Oh, gosh.
All right, so let's jump into the category. That's why everybody is here. So right off the bat, we're going to jump into the Breakout Performance Male Ninja. And our nominees were Caleb Bergstrom, Brian Burke, Seth Rogers, Philip Scott, and David Wright. With the winner being by a sizable margin, Seth Rogers. Does that surprise you, Taran?
No, Seth is the guy that I voted for. I mean, this is one of the best rookie performances that we've seen in general, let alone just this year. So it's not surprising at all to me that he took this one.
It's also like one of the most clearly like least divided categories. I guess there was, second place was Brian Burke, who was great as well, but there just was no real comparison here. It was a clear win for Big Red. Lita, I have to say, I follow you guys on your podcast, but I've missed the last couple. So what did you guys think of Seth Rogers?
Yeah, I mean, we were in. I would say that Seth Rogers is also a big contender for breakout nickname of the year, which is very important. Like, I think when you look at rookies who you remember, it's like, A, do I remember them just from looking at their name on the nominee sheet? And B, do I remember them from something other than like some weird video package, like, the baby Bergies or whatever. I don't necessarily remember for their performance on Ninja. So Seth was one of those people that we remember his performance. We remember him being young. And we remember him having a lot of potential in the future.
Cool. That's great. Breakout performance female, I guess, was one of the more hotly contested ones. There's a wide range of votes here. We had Maddie Howard, Taylor Amon, Sandy Zimmerman, Angela Gargano, and Caitlin Bergstrom, with the winner being Taylor Amon.
Nice.
Travis, what did you think of Taylor's performance this year?
Yeah, so there was this whole category was just full of ladies who did surprisingly, I mean, for first timers, some of them, or second timers, they just crushed it this year. So Taylor went on to city finals. She beat out Maggie. They both got the crazy clocks, I think, and she just got there faster. But really good performance. She's one of the Team Ninja Warrior holdouts or College Ninja Warrior. I think she's in both, actually. Who just really had a chance to show it on the big stage, and that's always the good thing.
Yeah. She held up under the pressure of the big lights, but yeah, like you said, we have
Exactly.
seen her do well previously, so I think she was. I mean, she's a model. She's doing a lot with a lot of scrutiny. So yeah, it's a mental game, right, on top of being a physical one.
For sure.
All right, so let
me just say something very quick. Taylor Amon, I'm actually stunned. I really thought this was Caitlin Bergstrom's category. And the reason I say that is simply because she had so much story this season. She was a rising star. And yeah, she was kind of maybe sidelined by the fact that it was the baby Bergies and Caleb also got the spotlight. But I thought that Caitlin was such a pivotal part of that storyline. And really, she's the one that stood out. So I'm actually stunned because Caitlin Bergstrom did phenomenal this entire year and had amazing stories. That said, Taylor Amon, she's a rising star. Some people just have that it factor, and Taylor Amon, when she's on television, she just stands out, and you're just drawn to her. But huge like competition in this category. Sandy Zimmerman also really did phenomenal. So definitely want to put that into the air of like, yo, Caitlin Bergstrom. Shout out to her also. Yeah,
I feel like our Ninja Academy is very discerning and will go with performance over package. Not that Caitlin didn't do well, but I think that Taylor really stood out as the person who was the most, consistently impressive on the course. Caitlin, I think, a little overshadowed by her hair and her family.
the baby Bergie thing is just
famously not fans.
Yeah. I mean, they need to change that whole thing, but I think if she gets out of that.
I loved Taylor. I was waiting for her to be on American Ninja Warrior proper after seeing her on the College Madness version of Team Ninja Warrior. So I was very happy to see her and very pleased that she did so well. I'm pretty sure she did the best of any of these breakout female performances. So I was just really, really pleased with her performance this season.
Yeah. Also, RIP College Madness. That was my favorite offshoot of Ninja, and it lasted one season.
It was great.
Yeah,
dude, they were phenomenal. Have you guys seen the ANW Junior?
I famously will not watch anything with kids on it.
You should make an exception. We were very, very surprised. We've been hyping it up for a while, but We intended to only cover the one episode of it just to say that we did, and loved it. It is amazing.
Yeah, we had that experience with Holy Moly. We covered the whole season.
Yeah.
That was a lie.
Yeah, the entire half an episode I watched really sustained us through a whole season of content.
That said, shout out to ANW Junior. If for anybody at home, it's phenomenal television.
All right, so moving on, we have the best new obstacle, with our nominees being the Power Tower, Coconut Climb, Grim Sweeper, Iron Summit, and Slam Dunk, with the winner actually being a tie between the Power Tower and the Coconut Climb.
Interesting.
Which I never would have guessed. To be honest, the Power Tower almost got left out of this category. Bijan made a push for it and made the right call.
Literally at the last minute.
I can say I loved the Power Tower for the qualifying rounds. I hated it in the city final rounds. I thought that it was really cool to watch them climb up and then go through different, levels of obstacles, drop down, climb back up a pole. That version of it I thought was really cool. I thought the idea of getting a pass to Vegas was really fun. I really enjoyed that part of it. If it was just that Power Tower, I might have chosen that one. But the City Finals one was just very samey to me. I didn't feel like we got any really exciting rounds from it. It was like, whoever pulled out in front was probably just going to win because it was all just the same sort of obstacle, upper body, swinging from one thing to another, going across a ladder, finishing. I just felt like it was kind of a dud there.
Yeah, complete cosign.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to the Power Tower, the qualifiers had such a variety of different, skill sets and things that made it fascinating in different ways that people can fall. And then when it comes to the city finals, it's literally just grabbing onto different things, and it's the same skill set. It's not visually engaging. There's just so much of a dud there. I really, really hope they change things up in the next season. But that said, I voted for Power Tower because when you look at this thing and the whole aesthetic in terms of the safety pass and the speed pass and everything also involved with it, it was just so much good television.
I have a quibble. Is the Power Tower technically an obstacle? Or is it sort of a series of obstacles?
Good question.
That is a good question.
They don't name the individual parts of the Power Tower. It's just the Power Tower.
Yeah, but just because it doesn't have a name, it can't exist.
Well,
it also doesn't have its own stage or chorus or anything either. Because,
yeah,
you don't have to complete it as part of a course. I don't know.
It's not like every hop on the Angry Birds with its own obstacle, right?
Point taken. But I feel like this was more of a twist or a game mechanic than technically an obstacle.
It's like the bouncing spider, where it's just multiple obstacles just jammed into one.
All right, fine.
Yeah, and to kind of echo Bijan and Taran's point, the city finals one honestly looked like they emptied out what was in the back of their trucks and was like, "Ooh, we got some hanging things. Let's put them in a circle and they'll get to the top."
I am so glad we're on the same page on this one.
Yeah. So I did vote for Power Tower because of what it represents and everything. But I do think they kind of phoned in the city finals one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I voted for Coconut Climb. I really enjoyed that one. I felt like, as a fan of Sasuke, it was the first obstacle in a while that I really felt like reminded me of the original courses that it was disguised as an actual coconut tree, which is super.
Oh, you're going back Sasuke 10 early.
Yeah,
stages.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm into it, and I liked that it was kind of different than what you normally see, the way that it operates. It's also an obstacle that's not really, it's not super slow. I don't love the slow obstacles most of the time. I love when they're able to get through it relatively quickly, but there's still an element of difficulty. And I felt like it accomplished all of those things.
Yeah, it definitely had the most theming, right? The most artwork they've ever put on an obstacle as opposed to just red, white, blue, and aluminum.
Wasn't the Ninjago roll decorated with Legos?
Oh, right.
Hey, other than the name, the Ninjago roll was freaking awesome in my opinion.
I agree.
But Dude, Coconut Climb, as Taran said, the aesthetic, the overall visual of it was amazing. And, dude, it made for some really good close calls also. I love the fact that for the dismount, there was also, like, a big, like, scary element in that part, too. So it wasn't like you just get through the main portion and you're done.
Yeah, I loved the sideways sort of momentum dismount. It just like the show usually has a lot of obstacles that feel very similar. You see the same kinds of motions all the time, and I felt like this obstacle effortlessly introduced different kinds of motion and physical, ability that I really enjoyed.
Great. So speaking of great obstacles, we have the Ninja Killer of the Year category, which has for nominees the diving boards, Angry Birds, Tire Run, Lightning Bolts, and Floating Monkey Bars. And Lita, I'll let you guess which one won this category.
Angry Birds.
Yes, Angry Birds did win.
This had to be the least close category.
It was, but not by as much as you would think. It actually was. It got 72% of the votes.
What was second?
It's a three-way tie. Tire Run, Lightning Bolts, and Diving Boards all got a vote.
Huh. All right.
So I didn't vote for Angry Birds, but you go ahead, Lita.
Well, I feel like this is one that we can run some stats on. And I feel like, unlike the other categories, which are pretty subjective, I feel like this one's a little objective. I feel like this one was the one that took out not only like the greatest proportion, I don't know what that is, but certainly the greatest proportion of like big ninjas that definitely could have finished most of, if not all of the other city qualifying course or city finals courses.
Yeah, you mentioned stats. Actually, that means I got to kick it over. Travis, you're our stats guy.
Yeah, so I did run them for all these. Angry Birds was obviously 0 for 22. I mean, to Lita's point though, like you have some really big name ninjas in that Northeast region, and none of them could figure it out. So that just kind of makes it, the cherry on the top. If you want me to rattle off the rest of these, I can, but I don't think anybody cares too much because the other ones, like Tire Run, that one's because it would have technically ended Drew's year, right? Mm-hmm. Like any other year, Drew's done at Tire Run. So Angry Birds was my vote from a sheer stats standpoint. Not forgetting that Northwest Passage technically did also have a 0% completion rate, but only Carson, Dan Yeager, and Jesse Graff got there. So
yeah, it almost made the cut. No, so Bijan, you have to defend whatever choice you made. What the heck did you pick?
So I chose Tire Run, and it's kind of just me being like, I hate the approach of it has to be an objective stats-based thing. And it's all good, Travis. I know you're going to love this category. Like, ooh, I get to type in all the stats. But for me, it's always about the story involved. And for Angry Birds, it was simply like a stopgap where at a certain point of the episode, it was like everybody just racing to the Angry Birds, and that's where they're going to fall. But it didn't really create as much drama for me as the Tire Run did when it came to, as you guys alluded to, when it comes to Najee, when it comes to Drew Dreschel, to numerous different ninjas, top-tier ninjas, falling on this particular obstacle. For me, it created the most story and drama when it came to stage one. So I think it was more of a factor of no longer am I just looking at it like, okay, this is like the unofficial like finish line for the episode. For me, Tire Run had more drama involved with it. That's all. I totally understand for somebody having a different argument, though.
I do think there's an argument for diving boards as well, depending on how you define Ninja Killer, just in terms of the damage it did to various ninjas, including, of course, Maggie Thorne, who suffered a concussion from this one, right?
Yeah.
That's where Flip got hurt too, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good point. All right, let's move on here. We've actually got next up the best comeback story, with the nominees being Travis Rosen, Mike Bernardo, Grant McCartney, Tiana Weberly, and Nate Burkhalter.
Okay, before you give out the answer, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just need to ask everyone for this. Was this one of the hardest categories for you guys to vote on?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
This was so hard.
Between two, yes.
Yeah, between two.
Okay, sorry, I just needed to know.
Yeah, it was one of I had I had like pretty much all of them on. Like 4 out of the 5 was really tough to choose from in this one.
Yeah, exactly.
With the winner by a narrow margin being Travis Rosen.
Unsurprising.
Yeah, I did go with Travis, but even just looking at it, I'm like, oh, I should have gone with Mike. I was back and forth between the two of them. It's really, I think the reason I went with Travis is because it tied in with last season so well. Like, it was a continued storyline as opposed to like one single package. We saw what happened to Travis last year, and to see him come back from that along with, his announced retirement, I think it was just a more complete story. And so that's why I went with Travis.
I'll say I really liked Nate being nominated here because it wasn't a comeback of a season. It was a comeback just from the night before, which is a different take on the comeback story. He came back from food poisoning.
What an epic comeback.
Yeah.
I mean, man, he looked rough, but he powered through that.
Yeah, I was tempted to vote for him, but I also agree that Travis Rosen is the right choice here. I don't love that we've got 2 people whose legs were destroyed, and that's their comeback story. I would be scared to be a ninja after all of that.
Well, not to mention that, Drew Dreschel theoretically has a similar comeback story all the way back from, what was it, Ninja Warrior 3? Where he shattered his leg, so.
What is Grant McCartney coming back from, being single?
So multiple seasons of not making it to Vegas.
That's
It's a little bit of a stretch.
Seems like in a different category than destroying your body.
Hey, we got to fill up 5 nominees, I guess, right?
True.
But yo, for me, my vote was Mike Bernardo, simply because I rewatched Travis Rosen and Mike Bernardo's segments, because for me it was between those two immediately. And for me, Mike Bernardo's story connected with me so much. It's more of a personal comeback as opposed to more of a athletic comeback, and just pulling himself out from such a really big rut in his life, and really addressing real subjects and real things that can happen to somebody in depression and alcoholism, if I remember correctly, various things. For me, that was a bigger comeback for me, but really you can't go wrong with either one. So props to Travis.
So I was gonna say I had to put Bernardo as my vote this year, but even just before I read the category, I was like, oh, this is Travis Rosen's category. I was like, and then I looked back and I was like, wait, this was Bernardo had such a emotional comeback, right? It wasn't just a physical thing. It was, he thought he was gonna be, done doing any physical activity for, the rest of his life, and then he was able to fight the demons that came with all of that and was able to come back and actually had a decent season. Not his best, but he actually competed. So that's why I had to vote for Bernardo over Travis.
Yeah, and I loved the just how it resonates with the spirit of American Ninja Warrior, that he talked about how it was his fellow ninjas that helped pull him back from the brink and get him back on track, and it was such an inspiring story, and I feel so much for Mike.
For sure.
All right, so we have a new category up next: Best Sidelines Performance. The nominees were Vicky Rail, Backyard Ninja Kid, Brian Burke's parents, Sem Garay's manager, and Zuri Hall. The winner was Zuri Hall.
Whoa.
Shocker.
I was all ready to do a Vicky Rail impression.
What did you think
I love Vicky Rail.
What did you think of Zuri this season, Lita?
Oh, I loved her. I thought she was... am I officially allowed to unfetteredly throw shade at Christine Leahy now that she's not with the show anymore? I never particularly enjoyed her. I feel like she had no connection to American Ninja Warrior and didn't really care about the show. Maybe Zuri doesn't either. I don't know, but I believe that she does because she has a lot more sort of zest for the sport. She's also way less involved. I don't know, I feel like they cut to her a little bit less, which isn't really a reflection on her or Christine, but she doesn't ask those questions that's like, so I see that you're crying. Are you sad? Like, okay. So I like Zuri. However, I don't know if that's a sideline performance, more as, a sideline career. I am an unapologetic Vicky Rail stan, and she is robbed in this category.
Yeah, I it was between Vicky and Zuri for me, but I agree. I felt like Zuri was a little bit underutilized this season in terms of how often I saw her. I do like her, and I hope we see more of her in the future. But yeah, this is the first time I've not voted for the winner here. I was with Vicky. Yeah, I really liked that she was trying to crush the bicep of whichever athlete was
Jake
next
Murray.
to her at any given. Yeah, Jake Murray's biceps. Yeah, she was really working the grip strength there.
So let me just say this: I met Vicky Rail, and she is as genuine with all the reactions and everything as can be. She is the most loving, like kind-hearted woman you'll ever meet in your life, and all of that is real, y'all.
I love that.
Yeah. That said, I'm gonna be careful with my words here, but let's just say I met Christine Leahy. I was interviewed with her after my run and everything. Mm-hmm. I'll just say I'm very happy Zuri Hall is on this show. I don't feel like if you were to walk up to Zuri Hall, she would just ignore you. And then all of a sudden, once the cameras are on, all of a sudden start going into this made-up spiel. And I'll just say that.
Yeah, we've
subtle.
seen that.
Very subtle. Yeah.
At the tapings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Zuri Hall seems so genuine and so happy to be there, like genuinely caring about the show, like actually hugging the athletes even if they're sweaty or whatever. Like there's just something about it. She's a really big breath of fresh air, and I'm really happy Zuri Hall is there.
I'm actually fairly relieved that she won the category, since I will admit I actually pretty much made the category for her. I thought she did such a wonderful job
We
this
just
season.
wanted to acknowledge her.
I wanted to acknowledge her in some way. This was the way I thought might be best, and I didn't even have to rig it. It came out that way.
Right. Like, the only other category you could throw her in is Best Breakout Performance Female, and, I mean, she was amazing, but, like, not, like, competitor level amazing.
And I almost tried to shoehorn her in there originally.
Don't you dare, man. Could you imagine if she won that?
But she was fantastic. I completely agree, and I'm very glad that she won. Although, I have to say, Vicky Rail, very close second place, and totally stole all of our hearts. And liked all of the posts about the award show. I'm so hoping she's listening.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, she almost passed out, right? Like, that's how passionate she was. It's crazy.
Yes.
She's the best, man.
So next up, we have the shocking fall of the year. And the nominees were Jeff Britton, Adam Rail, Najee Richardson, Jesse Graff, and Drew Dreshel on stage one, with the winner being Najee Richardson.
Wow. Okay.
This was my pick.
All right, go speak your truth.
No, I want to hear from Bijan. Why the surprise?
Why is it surprising?
I am stunned. I thought for sure it would be Drew Dreshel. Simply because, like, it's Drew Dreshel. Like, when's the last time he fell on stage one? And he's kind of just like, they've been hyping him up all season long, like, oh, this could be his year to win. And all of a sudden he does. But, even with the safety pass, for me, it was like, oh, he's just moving on to stage two. Like, I felt stage two might be the place where he might have to use a safety pass. The point where he fell in the tire run, like, out of nowhere, that was shocking to me. That was the biggest one.
So, I mean, the last time Drew fell on stage one was season 3 when Taran alluded to when he shattered his leg, landing on essentially tire run of that year. So, I mean, there is that.
But yeah, this was very divided. This was almost a perfect pie chart, right? It was right across the board, lots of votes spread out. So it was not a unanimous decision by any stretch. It was a pretty tough category to pick.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know why, but I wasn't feeling it for Drew. He ran really early in the episode. He had the safety pass, and just like that got in my head about like I wonder if this is going to impact his run. And so I almost, when he fell, was like, yeah, I don't know why, but I, for some reason, just anticipated it. But there were some others that definitely shocked me, like Najee. I was really not expecting Najee to go down where he did. And Jessie, too. I really thought Jessie had it. And then she, I think there have been so many falls on that cargo net that I like cringe every time, someone goes for it at this point. But I was still shocked when she dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cargonet got both Jessies this year, right?
Yeah.
No, Jesse Graff missed the bar on the double dipper, remember?
Double dipper, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
She whiffed her right hand, which she never misses. Things like catching things midair is like one of her specialties. Mm-hmm. And no, it was not the cargo net this year. She went out mid-run.
Oh, okay.
Midair transitions happen to the best of us.
Yeah.
I think going with Bijan talking about the story of all of this, I thought less like what's the most shocking on paper and more like what actually made me gasp, and like when watching the episode was I actually surprised to see. I think like Taran said, like if I was looking at this just like on paper and it's like, yeah, Drew Dressel is going to fall in stage 1, I would be like, yeah, that would have to be the most shocking. But in real time watching it, I sort of not expected something like that to happen, but wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe it, especially knowing that it didn't completely matter because he was going to be able to do it again. Najee, I just could not believe. I really thought, just given everything, even just like the editing and my expectations, that he was going to go further than that.
Yeah, it was brutal, the fact that like it sinks in, oh my God, Najee's whole season's done right here. Similar to Sean Bryant.
Yeah,
I
was about to bring up Sean Bryant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his is only disqualified because he didn't fall. It was I couldn't really put it in the shocking fall.
Yeah, shocking injury of the year, special award.
By the way, how awesome is? I mean, maybe I'm speaking for myself. Maybe you guys have dissenting opinions, but I really, really like the safety pass and the implementation and everything. It's awesome the fact that we had so many top ninjas. Actually, it was effective in being used, and then they moved on, and we got to see more of them.
Yeah, I think Taran and I were pretty positive on it overall. We liked that it added stakes to the qualifying rounds and the city finals, because those can sometimes feel like they need to be yada-yada'd through. And we also liked that it was very difficult to earn. It wasn't something that was just given out.
Yeah, Taran, you and Lita cover, other reality shows. You're kind of experts on some of the other big ones. I guess this would be pretty standard, right, for across reality TV. You have vetoes, you have, immunity idols. This is just part of the gig, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty staunchly anti-twist in most of my game show viewing, habits. But, I think usually because it's implemented in a bad way with these shows, and there are things that I did not love about this season, including the final rule change back to the original rules for the finals, which
Don't get
that
me started,
I'm
man.
not pleased about. But I do like this in general. I'm all for the purity of Sasuke and the original idea of what the show is and what the competition is, but this is a different version of that, and I do like the added stakes in the qualifying rounds. Sasuke, would run twice a year, and this is once a year, and so I don't know, like getting a bit of a do-over is almost just kind of like a little bit of an equalizer there in terms of opportunity, or at least that's how I justified it in my mind. I didn't mind it too much at all, especially that it can only be used in stage 1 or 2. Really, the only way that you're going to go out in stage 1 or 2 is if you either have a quick little mistake like what we saw with Drew, or if you're just unable to complete those stages, in which case you're not going to beat it your second time around either. So I was okay with it, and I like the added sort of twisted element to it.
I was kind of indifferent on it to begin with, and then I don't know, as it played out, and like Bijan said, it went to pretty much all big name people that we kind of want to see more of anyway. So from like a fan standpoint, I was like, oh, this is cool. I get to see more Drew, or more Matisse and stuff like that. So it did work well. I wasn't a huge fan of like a rerun from the Sasuke purist in me, but I said, I do think it was implemented well, and I think that may have had something to do with the kind of cringeworthy taking away of anybody who gets to the top $1 million prize thing, but that's, different gripe altogether.
Yeah, I think for me too, like one part of it is that theoretically the show is not a competition, and so giving one ninja a leg up in the competition doesn't bother me too much, because they're not competing with each other, which is one of the reasons why I hate the final rule. But in
Exactly.
general, it's okay, and they are competing for this advantage, but that's fine too. Like they're adding an element of competition, but it's not a life or death element of the competition. So I don't feel like anybody really got screwed too badly with what happened. It maybe if we had seen Daniel Gill get up the tower in time and not get $1 million because Drew had a safety pass, that might have been a different story, but luckily we don't have to live in that reality.
It's stages 1 and 2, and great point with everything, Taran. I mean, complete cosign.
So, moving on, we have the Stealthiest Ninja Award. The most difficult one to find nominees as you can possibly imagine. And actually one of it is the most contested one, the most widely voted one. So, the nominees were Sean Darling Hammond, Charlie Andrews, Tyler Gillette, Chris Wilczewski, and Ben Wales, with the winners being a three-way tie with Tyler Gillette and Kevin Carbone and Chris Wilczewski all getting the votes.
There you go.
Okay. So who do you guys vote for?
Chris Wilczewski.
Yeah, I wanted to vote Chris Wilczewski because I love Chris Wilczewski, and I wish that I saw more of him. But I feel like he's more like a big name that we didn't see, rather than like somebody that completely went by me. I almost voted for Ben Wales because even looking at a picture of him was like, who's this guy?
I have no idea what that person is.
I still
I
don't.
either, yeah.
But ultimately, I went with Tyler and Kevin just because they made it to stage 3 together and got none of their runs shown.
But at least they were montaged. For me, Stealthiest meant like for this season specifically, and Chris wasn't shown anywhere at all, Taran, until you mentioned it to me on our podcast. I didn't even know he was competing this year.
Yeah, he got montaged in qualifiers and finals and didn't get shown at all in Vegas. It's really hard until you start looking. Like, you have to almost track it the whole season to figure out who got montaged and who didn't and where they fell. Ben Wales, as a walk-on, made it to stage 2 and never got featured at all. And that's, to me, what put him above. Like, Tyler and Kevin got early on segments, like in the city qualifiers and finals. They just got really messed over in Vegas. But, I mean,
I just love how they were always grouped together. Like they
Yeah.
followed through the whole
Always,
season.
man.
It's like a package.
I had to put them together for the voting. Like, I mean, it's just the only way it made sense. Because they got exactly the same coverage, too.
Was this Ben
Yeah,
Wales' first season?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. From everything I've been able to find, it is his rookie season. So that makes him and Seth Rogers the 6th rookies to get to stage 3 in their rookie year. 6th and 7th, I guess, respectively.
Ben got to
joining
2,
Brent.
didn't he? I thought-
What's that?
Didn't he only get... Ben got to stage 2, didn't he?
Oh, you're right. He timed out at the end, right?
I can't remember where I think he fell and walked the plank, maybe. He fell, I think, fairly early.
Oh, no,
in
he fell
stage
right
2.
at the very beginning. You're right, you're right.
Who knows? Because nobody knows this guy.
Right.
And I feel
Exactly.
bad saying that, but I mean, at the end of the day, I feel so bad for him because, I mean, us talking about him is the most coverage he's gotten this entire year with everything that he's done in the ANW whole pantheon, I guess. That said, Tyler Gillette, Kevin Carbone, they were so, for me, they got my vote simply because it wasn't only their stories, it wasn't the fact that they're well known, like Chris Wilczewski and everything, but their runs, when you actually look at their fast forwards, were amazing. I forget if it was Tyler Gillette or Kevin Carbone or both, but they got like the fastest runs of the night on a few times, and all these different like accolades, which made it seem like their runs were amazing. We never got to see any of it, and pretty much they were paired. They basically were the same people to the ANW producers. So they got my vote, but my heart went out for Charlie Andrews. I kind of understand why he wasn't shown, simply because they probably want to make a bigger deal for when he actually does well on the show, in terms of his injury and everything, his comeback story. But still, Charlie Andrews is on this season. Never saw him.
Right. Like, at least tell us that he competed. Like, that would have been, just a quick blurb. Like Rich said in you guys' preview show, like, I don't need a full segment if he doesn't do well, because then I want to see a full segment when he does well next year. But just tell me that he's back competing.
Yeah, that's all it would have taken.
Yeah.
And there were people that messaged in. So as, we posted all this out, I had multiple people asking, like, wait, Charlie Andrews is back? Like, they didn't even realize.
As far as the Tyler Kevin thing, I mean, both of them earned a Power Tower competition against Drew, which... that was never had a chance. But then going on through the whole season, if we look at ANW Fantasy points, Tyler had the third most and Kevin had the fourth most. So like they had some of the best seasons, and then we basically montaged their whole Vegas. So it's just kind of crazy.
All right, so that means we have 2 more categories left before we get to the People's Choice. So the category is Female Ninja of the Year. The nominees were Maggie Thorne, Michelle Warnke, Jessie Lebrecq, Barclay Stockett, and Jessie Graff, with the winner being Jessie Lebrecq. Lita, what did you think of that? Is that how your vote fell?
No, I'm in the Michelle Warnke camp this year. I think in terms of Ninja of the Year, I want to think of somebody whose story is memorable, and frankly, as much as I love Jessie Lebrecq, this was a complete repeat of last year, and also, like, in terms of story, it's like, okay, she's still with Krista Ganji.
No, they're engaged now.
That's not a story!
A whole new thing.
Oh, she's still with her boyfriend in a different way? Like, it's, no. And for me, Michelle Warnke not only had a wonderful message with her packages about getting tested for the BRCA gene and all of that, but also, like, this was huge for her. I feel like she's somebody that has missed Vegas a few times in recent years, and she not only completely outdid herself this year, finishing the finals, but also finishing the qualifiers with her head split open. And I feel like we had it all. We had blood and drama and social issues and all of that.
I completely co-signed all of that. Yeah, Michelle was my vote as well.
Jessie Graff technically did get the farthest. She didn't finish an obstacle, but she was the furthest on Northwest Passage of anyone. So there is that. That being said, I'm a old hat, so I had to go with Michelle. I mean, second woman up the warp wall is also the second one to hit a city finals buzzer. That's just too poetic. I mean, that was so many people have tried since then, and that was cool that it was Michelle.
Yeah, I had her on par with Lebrecq, except for the fact that her qualifying run I think did it for me. Right, the craziness that went on with that, I thought made it just that much better.
Yeah.
For me, it was very, very close between Lebrecq and Warnke. For me, it was actually the hardest vote out of all these categories for me. And I went back and forth. And at the end of the day, I voted for Lebrecq, but at any time, I would have easily been like, no, Warnke deserves it more. So for me, it's kind of a toss-up. I mean, I could have gone either way, but it ended up going with Lebrecq. I hope that didn't skew the vote to Lebrecq winning, Rich, but yeah, I mean, I can't really say one was better than the other. For me, it was kind of like even.
Yeah, you're splitting hairs there for sure.
All right, so the last one that we voted on was the Male Ninja of the Year. The nominees were Seth Rogers, Matisse Awadi, Adam Rail, Drew Dreschel, and Daniel Gill, with the winner being Drew Dreschel.
Shocker.
Imagine if it wasn't.
I was going to say, this is the Drew Dreschel Award with some honorable mentions behind it.
Yeah.
Was there any dissenting votes?
There were a few, actually, more than you would think. And People's Choice was a complete surprise. Like, I'm not going to say about results, but as far as the votes, they were all over the place.
Ooh.
Huh. Well, who got second place on this one?
Daniel.
Daniel did.
Daniel Gill. Okay, that at least that's good. I was about to say if like if Matisse gets it, man, this poor guy, he's just gonna get so much hate. But yeah, it's Drew's year. I mean, what else can you say? He had an amazing story. He's about to be a father. He overcame adversity. I mean, by falling. In many ways, that made him more human. And yeah, then he went and won the big one finally after all these years. I mean, he's not the same as Makoto Nagano, I'm not saying that, but if you actually look at his journey, it's kind of like the ascension of the guy that everybody that always got close, and then finally he makes the big one. I feel terrible for him by the fact that, at least in my opinion, I was just seeing red with that stupid like rule change that they just dropped the bomb on in the final episode. But I that doesn't overshadow the fact that finally Drew Dreshel wins the big one. He wins $1 million. It isn't marred in controversy, and yeah, it was his year.
Yeah, and for those that didn't listen to the official ANW podcast with Drew, he plans on going as many times as he can. He is not done. He is going to come back and try to do it again next year.
Yeah, I do want to credit Daniel Gill because he has done something very important to me, which is he has finally proved that stage 4 isn't just a gimme. And that's seriously, genuinely, like, very important to me that like 4 people have tried it and 3 of them have finished it. And now at least one person has failed it. It's a little bit of a challenge, it seems, at least.
That's a
Can
very
we all
good
agree,
point.
though, that stage 4 just sucks? I mean, I hate it. It's just
I
a
like
rope
it.
climb.
I
Change
think
it
it's-
up for the love of God, people.
Change it up. Only 4 people have ever done it on 2 different seasons.
Still, it needs something, yo. Like, at least do a spider climb, like, what is it, Sasuke, or to a rope climb or something. Like, the fact that it's just a rope climb, I am like, you go through all of this, and it comes down to literally one type of skill, which is a rope climb. That's literally all it is. I hate it.
It's a 75% completion rate. Like, I think that's a little much for the final stage.
I mean, I do like that it's a predictable thing that you can prepare for because you have to, everything changes up until then, right? So you have to be able to have that skill in your back pocket. But yeah, I mean, have you seen, I think it's Sasuke Vietnam where they do a salmon ladder up to a rope climb? That one's cool.
Yeah, well, you can prepare for it by, watching videos of Isaac on your phone before you do it. That's how you prepare, right?
Guys, I like
That
stage
works.
4. I think it's fun. It gets my heart rate up when I'm watching it, which I can't say about everything in American Ninja Warrior. It's impossible to look at my phone while it's happening.
Yeah, but also like hearing about the rules also gets my heart rate up. So I'm not sure that's the greatest barometer.
Okay. Well, that's you, and this is me.
All right, so let's take a look at the People's Choice Awards. And these were a weird bunch because one of them had a ridiculous number of nominees. One of them was a complete blowout, and one was darn near split vote. So, with the ridiculous number of nominees, it would be the obstacle of the year. The winner of the People's Choice is the Power Tower. But there were 16 different obstacles that were nominated in this, or that were voted for.
Can you give us the top 3?
Yep. Second place was Slam Dunk. And third place was a tie between Grim Sweeper and Snapback.
Interesting. Slam Dunk. I mean, I love Slam Dunk, but I would have never, I can't believe that was the one that got the second most votes.
I know, right?
Also,
Crazy.
like Grim Sweeper was like fine. Like I guess it was cool in terms of like being an individual obstacle, but in terms of like what it replaced and what it represented in stage 2, I was not a fan.
I agree with the word fine. I think that's like the most apt word for that obstacle.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we
Don't
would
hate
have
it,
loved
don't love
it if they had a time crunch and they would have
Yes.
been rushing. I think we would have seen some falls and we would have liked it a lot more.
Exactly. Like if you're in a rush and you need to try to go for it on your first pass, like that would have been a lot more interesting, I think.
I'll just say this: Slam Dunk. That looks like a really, really fun obstacle to try to do.
I think it kind of is like a bar hop with a weird bar, right? That's all it really is, but I mean, I want to try it.
I will say that somebody voted for Angry Birds. too. I should add that as well.
I don't hate Angry Birds apart from like that it was clearly too difficult. I like the concept of it. I wouldn't mind seeing it again as long as it's, completable.
Do you mind the...
Yeah, that's the one thing we totally didn't talk about is Angry Birds is actually a cool obstacle.
Okay, but
Yeah.
do you mind the source of the sponsorship?
It makes zero sense. I have no idea what the connection is, other than the fact that it makes you angry.
Every sponsored obstacle has had nothing to do with the sponsors. Fallout was like a disc, and Ninjago Roll was a crazy roulette cylinder thing. Like those aren't.
I'll never forget
Yeah,
Meghan
but
Markle telling us that it sounded like a sushi to her.
All right, so now we have the People's Choice for Male Ninja of the Year. And this went back and forth as I was tallying them up. But in the end, the winner was Drew Dreshel. But just like on the show, Daniel Gill was right on his heels.
Yeah, I think there is a contingent of people out there that do hold it against Drew that he had the safety pass.
I haven't seen too much of that. I kind of expected it, but I didn't see any.
I feel like if Drew, or if Daniel Gill also completed stage 4 and didn't win the million, oh man, it would have been it would have been such just hell breaking loose on the internet. Because let's go. Unfortunately, you go back to the whole Jeff and Isaac thing, and just the fact that Jeff got completely screwed over. Imagine the fact if if Drew Dreshel, even though he's close to everybody's hearts, fell. But won the million and Daniel Gill got nothing. I could totally see him that being a big thing. Luckily, it didn't happen, but still, Daniel Gill probably gets the People's Heart award, kind of like how Jeff Britton did. I totally understand why.
Yeah, I hated
sure.
that it was the final run of the entire season. It's, Daniel Gill, he's made it to stage 4. It's the last thing I'm going to watch on the season. And I am just adamantly rooting against him for I didn't want him to finish because I didn't want to have an ugly ending like that. And that's not what I want to watch when I'm watching. I don't want to be rooting against people in American Ninja Warrior.
Well said, Taran. One thing I should mention here, I should have mentioned it in the other one, the Male Ninja of the Year, is we didn't put Joe Moravsky as a nominee. And we got, I think it's the only category I got some, hateful messages on.
People were so mad. It's yo, we got 5 nominees.
Yeah, so Joe did really well technically on the course. But you guys had a category here. I just actually want to bring it up now. We have People's Choice. You could have wrote in. Joe got a couple votes, but not enough to win the category.
So, Joe technically finished 17th in fantasy points if we're using that as a metric to kind of, unify things. So, yeah, for Joe, that's actually a bad season, honestly. He did good for, everybody else, but for Joe, that was a bad season. So that's why it's kind of meh.
He did have to go with the Angry Birds, though.
Yeah, right. And that screws up your fantasy points for sure.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't even, maybe I would have been annoyed about that if I had seen any name other than Drew's in that list. So I don't think it mattered ultimately.
Lita, were you surprised? You've been a little silent on this category. Is were you just it's of course it's Drew?
I feel like this was one that I was expecting to be a landslide. I don't know, not much more to contribute. Co-signed.
All right, so our final category is actually People's Choice Female Ninja of the Year. In an absolute massacre of the field, Jessie LeBrecq wins this one.
Wow.
Makes sense.
Does anyone want to speculate on why that might be? Because I am it's not that I don't think Jessie's talented and did extremely well this season. I just don't understand why she was put so far above everyone else.
Well, I think the show picked her as their star this year. Is how I'm feeling. Narrative-wise, she seemed like the one that was always going to go last if she was a part of that episode.
Yeah, I had a theory that the producers were mad at Jesse Graff for ditching them last season. And so they were trying to spotlight other people.
I don't know, man. I think they still love Jessie Graff, and they're going to put Jessie Graff on everything they can show. But Jessie LeBrecq, I feel like, is their next up-and-coming big star, There's always the one where you got to amp them up. And unfortunately for Michelle Warnke, Jessie LeBrecq has far more of the namesake or whatever they see in her. They're going like putting all thrusters behind her and skyrocketing her to the moon. And it's earned, at least, you know. It's not a thing where it's like, oh, blah blah blah. Like, Jessie LeBrecq's actually doing phenomenal, and I mean, she even has a fiance, as you know, his name's LeBrecq's fiance, and good for him. But at the end of the day, like, she did phenomenal. This was one of her best years, and yeah, I mean, for me, the shocker of all shockers is that she fell on stage 1, and I really, really, really wanted to see a female ninja on stage 2. Do you guys think any, like, of the top 5 female ninjas, like, do you think they could have completed stage 2? Because I actually feel like a lot of them could have.
I think 100%. All of them could have.
Yeah. I think this was the year that a woman was going to get to stage 3, and just didn't work out that way.
So that is it for ANW11 and the Stage 5 Ninja Awards. I guess final thoughts on the season. Taran, how did you find this season?
I enjoyed the rule changes. I felt like it really, I've never loved the qualifying rounds. Even the city final rounds I can find kind of boring. Again, coming from Sasuke, straight to the big tournament. And I felt like adding these other elements to those rounds helped it for me be a little more exciting. I was pleased with stage 1 this year. I felt like that was a good stage. It had a good completion rate. Stage 2, very disappointing. I was not a fan. And then, but it was cool to see people on stage 3. I did miss the body prop. I was like, where did that go? But overall, just so happy with Drew taking the win. I talked about this on our finale episode, but it felt like this joyous moment that was just like ripped out of my gut immediately. I couldn't even celebrate because I was worried about like Daniel and what was going to happen there, and then it just kind of ended. I felt like it was such a great result, like just in terms of like what actually happened, but the presentation of it, I hated that it was spoiled. Not necessarily who won, but that there was a winner. That killed me. I hated it. The rule change. There's so much about the presentation of the season I hated, but the actual results I loved, and I'm so happy for Drew, and I'm hoping that moving forward we can maybe hopefully fix a little bit of these issues involving the presentation.
Nice, well summed up. Travis, I know you've taken some issue with the season. I guess, do you want to air your grievances? Let's get them all out here.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm actually very much in line with some of the things Taran was saying. Like, I don't know what they were thinking, telling us we had a winner. Like, that kind of, dropped the floor out of enthusiasm for me. I was like, oh, all right, well, I guess I'll keep watching. I'll watch to see Drew win. That was honestly my mentality, was I'm just gonna watch to see Drew win, because if somebody was gonna win, it's gonna be Drew. And as far as the rule changes, I just kind of felt, and the rule changes and stage 2, I guess I'll say, just kind of felt like, yeah, we want a winner this year. It just really seemed that way, which, I mean, is cool. But as a Sasuke, fan, that was never their goal. That was not how the course was designed. I mean, and even if you watch Sasuke, after somebody wins, the course gets like 10 times harder, and nobody even makes it past stage 2. Well, a couple people, but it's just absolutely brutal the year after somebody wins, and maybe we'll see that next year. If we do that, I'd be really happy about that. But as far as the actual season as a whole, I did enjoy it. I thought we had some of the most creative city finals, like 8-9 obstacles we've had in a long time. I really enjoyed most of those. But yeah, so all in all, a good season. But there was definitely some big gripes I had with like telling us we had a winner and kind of forcing us to have a winner. So.
So, Lita, you're like me, I think, a newcomer to ANW, relatively, not like an old school Sasuke fan.
Definitely.
Did any part of that resonate with you? Did you love the season, hate it?
No, I mean, I don't think it was my favorite season that I've watched, but it was one of my favorite seasons to cover. I felt like as a podcaster, there was a lot more for us to talk about every episode with these sort of wrinkles. Even with, we haven't really talked about it at all, but even with the Mega Wall, I just felt like there were lots of little things that made this kind of have a more dynamic conversation around Ninja. And just some of the performances, like we saw some shocking falls, but we also saw some really amazing victories. And yeah, I felt like this was one of the more enjoyable seasons to cover for me. Maybe not if I was just watching it, but from a podcaster's perspective, I really enjoyed it.
It's actually a really good point because we normally go crazy off topic during our coverage, and not really as much of that this season. We were like actually talking about the show for like an hour and a half every day.
Not that I don't enjoy when we do that, but it did feel like there were fewer opportunities for tangents, or if there were, we were like more ready to rein them in.
Yeah.
Rather than just ready to kill time.
Bijan, speaking of killing time and ranting, how would you sum up your view of this season?
Nice shade, man. Dude, for me, this was a great season. I understand everybody's points and their criticisms, but I mean, even going back to Sasuke, there were seasons where like a bunch of ninjas did well, and there were seasons where nobody did well, you know? And for me, it was kind of a culmination of various years of a lot of ninjas getting so close, but really hitting a wall in stage 2, and I see nothing wrong with that. But for me, it was so exciting seeing so many fresh new ninjas on stage 3. I thought stage 3 was still very difficult, and, you know, we even got 2 people on stage 4. So I thought it was great. And overall, the entire season, as Lita alluded to, there were so many intricacies to the rules and the presentation, and, you know, Mega Wall, there you can go for the speed pass, the safety pass. There are so many things that keep you invested. There was actually, you know, stakes involved even more so this year. So I really, really enjoyed it. It's not my favorite season, but I don't think it's a bad season at all. That said, I mean, man, ANW producers don't ever do that rule thing again. It's the worst. Like, it just makes you see red, and it really ruined a moment that should have been so amazing. That said, I'm very happy I wasn't spoiled. So maybe I'm coming from a different background in the fact that I wasn't spoiled where everybody else was.
Man, I don't know how you didn't hear that there was going to be a winner. Like, it was everywhere.
I heard from a lot of people that there was a major spoiler, so I went on complete blackout. I only watched the show, no previews, and I did not go online for a lot of it. I was like, nope, you guys are not going to get me.
Yeah, I mean, even hearing that there's a major spoiler, though, is like, oh, that probably means there's a winner.
Yeah, right.
Like, what else could it be?
I had my thoughts, so I was like, but maybe it could have been something else. Maybe, I don't know, somebody crazy.
Somebody gets hurt.
Somebody big falls or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, I think it really resonates for me that you guys are like, this wasn't necessarily my favorite season. I think for me, this should have been my favorite season. Like, this should have been the best season ever for me, like, in terms of the outcome and all the steps along the way. Like, there were so many great moments, and I'm so disappointed because I feel like they botched it and made it so it's not my favorite season. Like, it's just another season where something cool happened, but I didn't get to like have that great moment of like, you know, Makoto Nagano has completed it, ultimate victory. Like, I had like 5 seconds of like, oh my god, Drew did it. Oh now Daniel's up. Okay, and it just it was like it should have been the best, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I think you summed up my feelings there, Taran. I enjoyed the season. The fact that it was spoiled and the fact that they changed the rule ruined the ending for me. And the Angry Birds episode and Stage 2 episodes were downers. But otherwise, I think to Lita's point, was fantastic to cover the rest of the season. There was so much to talk about. It was a great, from a podcasting perspective. All right, so that is it for our awards episode. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So, Lita, if someone wants to follow you, other things you're doing, how can they reach you, and what do you got going on?
So not too much now that the American Ninja Warrior and Big Brother seasons are over. Normally all of my podcasts are with Taran. But you can find me on Twitter at Lita Tweeted and on Instagram at Lita Grammed. You can also find a lot of my writing at litawrote.wordpress.com.
Cool. Taran, how about you? What are you still podcasting up a storm?
Yeah, we're still deep in the Big Brother now post-season coverage. So you can, if you're into Big Brother, check that out over at Rob Has a Podcast. And then you can also find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. I stream on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. And I do now have an Instagram, Taran_Armstrong, where I post various pictures of myself, I guess, and also my cat.
All right. Travis, how about you? What's going on in your world?
So this may be more of a bomb than it's kind of meant to be, but I definitely will not be doing an ANW Fantasy for next year.
Oh.
So probably don't look for that. But
It's the anti.
Suck the energy out of the place, Travis. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Here's where not to find me, actually.
Yeah, right. I'm still probably gonna post some stats and some stuff on my Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, which are all at ANW Fantasy. But just doing the league just takes kind of the fun out of watching the show for me. So I'm gonna just sit back and watch next season and see if I get back into enjoying it.
That's totally fair. Like, taking notes while watching the show is definitely and that's not even me like keeping track of all the detailed stats. That's just me like writing down stupid Akbarisms. Like, so I kind of
right,
feel
and
you.
I normally write those down too because I'm like, oh, I should write about these. These are funny, and so I have all that going on. Like, I'm typing, I'm writing, and I'm trying to like fill out my table of my ANW Fantasy points while I'm going. I just do too much, and I just got to take a break.
Which reminds me, actually, before we go, the ANW Akbarism wrote in to say that the best Akbarism of ANW11 was, "This crazy cliffhanger obstacle is rated R for ridiculous."
I did like that one.
All right, Travis. So if anybody wants to follow you on Twitter, Instagram, other than ANW Fantasy, where do they find you?
I mean, that's just where it's still ANW Fantasy. I'll still post stuff at those Twitter, Facebook, Instagram handles, but yeah, just don't look for the actual website.
Oh, there we go. All right. So that is it for this week. Thank you all so much for listening. If you'd like to reach me, you can reach me as rich@ninjapodcast.com. I am at Ninja Podcast on both Instagram and Twitter. And Bijan, how can they reach you?
Well, time for me to take over. Travis, just gotta say, for me, ANW Fantasy is such an amazing thing. Burnout happens, and I just want to give my love and support to you. You know, if you're burned out, hey, take some time off, do your thing, but I hope one day, we can see ANW Fantasy come back. And if not, hey, I love and appreciate all you've done for the community. It's been good stuff.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely not giving it up forever. I fully anticipate I'll bring it back sometime. I just don't know when.
Yeah.
I gotta take a break, though.
Hey, do your thing, man. It's always, you need to give the passion, and if you're just not feeling it, hey, take a break. Damn.
Yeah,
okay.
I appreciate that.
Car outside. All right.
That was like more than a mic drop. That was a drive off.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, hey, if you want to reach out to me, guys, I got Twitter and Instagram. I post goofy pictures and videos of my dog, and I do, travel trips. I eat weird stuff like bugs and everything. So, yeah, you can hit me up at Twitter and Instagram at Bijan151. That is Bijan 151.
All right. Thank you all for listening, and have a wonderful week.
Peace, love, and deuces, y'all. No other sign outs? Come on, guys.
I don't do this.
Taran always says we will see you next time, but that's not accurate.